Two neighbors planted the same perennial bed 3 years ago. One yard explodes with color the second week of April. The other is still staring at bare mulch in May, wondering what went wrong. The difference wasn't luck, and it wasn't soil. It was 11 days in August. Right now, while most gardeners think the planting season is basically over, the ground is quietly doing something it won't do again until next year. Today I'm giving you 11 perennials you will genuinely regret not planting before this month ends. Number 3 is the one that separates a decent spring garden from the kind neighbors stop their cars for. And if you get the depth wrong on this one plant, you can lose years of blooms without ever knowing why. Drop your state or your USDA zone in the comments before you keep watching. This list changes depending on how early your ground freezes, and I read every single comment. Let's start at the bottom of the list and work our way up to the one plant I refuse to let you skip. Number 11, Astilbe. Most people write this plant off as a shady filler with feathery pink plumes and nothing else going on. Here's what most gardening content never tells you. Astilbe planted in August develops a root mass through fall that a spring planted Astilbe won't match until its second full year. The reason is simple. Cooling air combined with still warm soil pushes energy into roots instead of top growth, so the plant arrives at winter already established instead of starting from scratch in spring. The mistake gardeners make is planting it in dry shade under a tree canopy and assuming shade alone is enough. It isn't. Give it consistently moist, humus-rich soil, water 2 to 3 times a week if rainfall is under an inch, and space plants 18 to 24 inches apart. Skip the cheap, unnamed nursery Astilbe and look for Phenol or Visions, both far more resistant to the crown rot that kills weaker varieties in wet Augusts. I've been growing Astilbe under the same oak canopy since 2011, and the plants I set out in August still outperform a batch I impulse bought and planted in May 3 years later, which tells you how much that head start actually matters. Number 10, Coral Bells, also called Heuchera. The tag at the garden center makes it sound like a foliage plant for shade. Full stop. That's only half true, and believing it is exactly why so many coral bells struggle by their second summer. The mechanism here is about the crown, not the leaves. Coral bells grow from a woody crown that slowly rises above the soil line over years, and an August planting gives that crown time to root deeply before it has to survive its first freeze-thaw cycle. Plant too shallow now and frost heave in year 1 can pop the whole plant out of the ground by February. Set the crown exactly level with the soil surface. Mulch 2 inches around it, but never touching the crown itself, and give it morning sun with afternoon shade in zones 7 and warmer. Varieties like Palace Purple are everywhere, but Caramel and Southern Comfort hold their leaf color through summer heat in a way the older varieties simply don't. Subscribe if you want a garden that's already a season ahead of everyone else's, because that's genuinely all we do here. Number 9, Daylily. Everyone assumes daylilies are impossible to kill, so nobody thinks about when to plant them. That assumption costs people an entire year of bloom. Daylilies planted in August have roughly 6 to 8 weeks of active root growth left before dormancy, which is enough time to establish a fan strong enough to bloom the very first spring. Instead of sitting there producing leaves for a full season with nothing to show for it. The common mistake is planting the crown too deep, burying it under 2 or 3 inches of soil out of habit. The crown should sit exactly 1 inch below the surface, no deeper. Water deeply twice a week until the ground cools below 50 degrees, then stop. Stella de Oro reblooms reliably, but if you want a single dramatic flush instead of scattered rebloom, Hyperion offers a fragrance most modern daylilies have bred out entirely. Several university extension offices in the upper Midwest specifically recommend late summer division for exactly this reason. Fans divided and reset in August outcompete spring divided fans in both bloom count and stalk height the following year. Number 8. Siberian Bugloss. If deer or rabbits have ever stripped your hostas overnight, this is the plant that ends that problem for good. Here's the part nobody explains. It isn't the flowers that repel deer, it's the texture. The rough, slightly bristled, heart-shaped leaves are unpleasant enough that browsing animals move on to something softer. And plants set out in spring rarely get that runway. The mistake is planting it in full sun, thinking more light means more flowers. It doesn't. Give it partial to deep shade, soil that stays consistently moist. Usually your hostas, and leave this one alone completely. August planting matters because Siberian Bugloss needs a full season of root development before it can handle summer heat without wilting, and 2 inches of mulch to get it through the last hot weeks of August. By April, sky blue forget-me-not style flowers hover over silver-veined leaves that stay attractive from March through frost. Every like on this video puts it in front of another gardener who's about to make one of these exact mistakes. So if this is useful, tap it before you keep going. Number 7, bleeding heart. If your bleeding heart vanished completely by July, you probably assumed it died. It didn't. By August, every bit of stored energy has already retreated underground into fleshy, brittle roots, which is exactly why this is the ideal month to plant or divide it. You're working with dormancy instead of against it. The mistake almost everyone makes is planting the crown too deep out of caution, which suffocates the buds that are supposed to emerge in March. Set the crown level with the soil surface, in moist, rich soil, in partial to full shade. Those dormant buds need roughly 16 to 20 weeks below 41 degrees to trigger the following spring's flush of heart-shaped blooms, so a mild winter without enough chill hours can mean a disappointing show. Plant ferns or hostas around it now, so the bare patch it leaves behind next summer doesn't look like a mistake. Number 6, Oriental poppy. This is the plant people give up on most often, usually right around the moment it would have rewarded them. Oriental poppies go fully dormant by midsummer, and that disappearance is precisely why late summer is the correct planting window instead of a wasted one. The plant grows a single deep taproot, and once it's established, it despises being dug up and moved again, so the placement decision you make this August is essentially permanent. The common mistake is planting it in soil that holds moisture through winter, which rots that taproot before spring ever arrives. Choose full sun and sharply draining soil. And if your soil is heavy clay, amend the planting hole with coarse grit rather than compost alone. Since the foliage disappears for weeks in summer, interplant it with baby's breath or ornamental grasses to fill the visual gap. By late spring, you'll get blooms the size of a dinner plate in colors that look almost artificial. Year 1. A modest clump. Year 2, a clump you can finally divide. Year 3, a drift of poppies your neighbors ask you about over the fence. What's the one perennial that's disappointed you the most, the one you gave up on completely? Tell me in the comments, because there's a decent chance the problem wasn't the plant. Number 5, Columbine. New gardeners expect Columbine to look like a full, established clump the first spring after planting. It won't, and treating that as a failure is the single biggest reason people rip it out too early. Columbine spends its first fall building a deep taproot rather than top growth, and in August planting hands it several extra months of root development before the ground freezes solid. The mechanism that matters here is patience, not technique. Give it partial shade in hot regions, well-drained, fertile soil, and keep the crown level with the soil line rather than buried. Leave it sitting in soggy ground and the crown rots before it gets the chance to prove itself. One thing almost nobody mentions: let a handful of spring blooms go to seed instead of deadheading everything. Columbine self-sows freely, so a single August planting can quietly multiply into dozens of plants within 2 or 3 seasons without you doing anything else. Number 4, creeping phlox. This is the plant I specifically told you not to skip, and here's why. Most people treat it as a tiny filler and tuck one lonely pot into a corner of the border. Experienced gardeners do the opposite. They plant it in quantity, in August, and let biology do the rest of the work for them. Creeping phlox spreads by rooting along its stems as it grows, which means an August planting gives every stem months to knit itself into a solid mat before spring rather than starting that process cold in April. Space plants 6 to 12 inches apart in a staggered, offset pattern rather than a straight row, and it fills in roughly twice as fast. It wants full sun and soil on the dry, rocky side, since it actually struggles and rots in rich, wet soil that other perennials would love. Plant it now, and by mid-April, your neighbors will still be looking at bare mulch while your slope looks like someone unrolled a carpet of pink, purple, or white. Number 3, peony. This is the one I promised you at the start, and it's also the plant most likely to punish a small mistake for years afterward. If you only think about peonies in spring, you are already months too late to get the biggest blooms possible. The gardeners with the fullest peony displays know the real work happens in August, long before a single flower appears. Here's the mechanism. As air cools while soil stays warm, the plant redirects energy away from leaf production and into fast feeder root growth underground, all while the top of the plant looks completely dormant and unremarkable. One measurement decides whether this plant flowers for the next 20 years or barely flowers at all. The eyes, the small pink buds on the root, must sit exactly 1 to 2 inches below the soil surface. Bury them a couple of inches too deep, a mistake almost every first-time planter makes, and you can spend 3 or 4 years growing healthy green leaves without ever seeing a bloom. Give it full sun, at least 6 to 8 hours a day, and rich, well-drained soil, and skip high nitrogen fertilizer entirely, since it feeds leaves at the direct expense of flowers. Big box store peonies are almost always unnamed seedlings with unpredictable bloom size, while named varieties like Sarah Bernhardt or Festiva Maxima are propagated specifically for bloom size and reliability, and the difference shows within 2 seasons. Number 2. Bearded Iris. This plant has one of the strangest planting rules in the entire garden, and getting it backwards can ruin next spring before winter even starts. Most people bury it the way they'd bury any other root, and that single habit is responsible for more rotted iris rhizomes than anything else. Bearded iris grow from a thick underground stem called a rhizome, and by July and August, that rhizome has entered its natural resting phase, which makes late summer the ideal window to plant or divide it. The rule that catches everyone off guard. The top of the rhizome should sit at, or barely below, the soil surface, sometimes even slightly exposed to air. Bury it too deep and trapped moisture rots the rhizome before it ever produces a bloom. Dig a shallow mound, lay the rhizome across the top, and spread the roots down each side like a skirt. Full sun and sharp drainage are non-negotiable, and mulch should never be piled directly over the rhizome itself. Get this right in August, and you're rewarded with tall, ruffled blooms as early as May. And that brings us to the one perennial that earns its spot at number 1 for a reason none of the others can claim. Number 1, Dianthus, also known as pinks. Most gardeners underestimate this plant because it looks small and unimpressive the day you plant it, nothing like the dramatic reveal you'd expect from a number 1 spot. What almost nobody realizes is that its fine, fibrous root system establishes faster than any other perennial on this entire list, which is exactly why it belongs here as your genuine last chance before fall. Give it full sun, 6 to 8 hours minimum, and soil that drains sharply with a pH on the neutral to slightly alkaline side, since acidic soil noticeably weakens bloom production. Space plants 8 to 12 inches apart to keep airflow moving between them and prevent the powdery mildew that ruins crowded plantings by midsummer. In colder zones, a light layer of straw mulch after the ground freezes protects the crown through winter, but pull it back the moment temperatures start climbing in early spring. Plant Dianthus this week, and by April, you'll have fragrant, clove-scented blooms and a plant that looks like it's been established for years, not months. Here's your complete last chance August checklist. Astilbe, coral bells, daylily, Siberian bugloss, bleeding heart, Oriental poppy, Columbine, creeping phlox, peony, bearded iris, and Dianthus. 11 perennials, 1 closing window, and every single one of them rewards the gardener who moves now instead of waiting for spring. What's your growing zone, and which one of these 11 are you getting into the ground first? Someone gardening in your exact climate is reading these comments right now, so tell them too. If you want a garden that's always 1 season ahead of everyone else's, subscribe, because that's exactly what we do here every week. Now go check your soil temperature before the window closes on you.